Do you recognise that exam taker? Exploring the changing world of examinations, and the students are using contract cheating services to find people to take their exam for them. Hello there, and welcome to this special presentation of a talk that Robert Clark is going to be doing at the Birmingham City University CSpace conference, which is the teaching and learning conference there. I'm co-author of the talk, or I'm not able to make that particular event, so you can see my own take on this in this video version, looking at the whole world of people who are impersonators, using third parties, using people they found online to help them with their examinations. And really, this is an extension of our wider work into contract cheating, which has been going on now for over 10 years. So a few of our credentials in this area are on the slides, but particularly Bob, who's very much known in this area for his work finding assignments online and helping to notify the assignment owners. So that might include traditional written assignments, might include requests for presentations, might include people who are posting their exams online, which can happen, as we'll see in this talk. My background is particularly concerned with the research side of this, generating the data, generating a lot of the publicity around it now as well, and my background very much in the area of plagiarism detection. And we've certainly talked about this area quite widely in the media, as you can see, and really looked at how this work has developed over the past 10 years. So what's the focus in this particular presentation? Well, some people may be looking at this and thinking, well, have I talked about this before? Yes, I have. I did a talk for the Higher Education Academy STEM conference early 2016, and these ideas really developed from that, and particularly looking at the people behind and trying to bring in some new examples as well. So you can also look at that talk, which is mentioned on the slide, which is on my SlideShare account, for more details. But I'm going to focus in particularly on the question, are people paying people to do their exams and tests? And clearly yes, because there's no reason to be asking this otherwise. The wider issue about examinating cheating and the concerns, what we know about online requests for cheating through our contract cheating research. That's looking at people who are paying people for help, and how exam cheating is developing, and also some advice for the sector as we think about the 10 years of contract cheating and what we need to do to preserve academic integrity. So yes, cheating has been very much in the news, both for exams and for other types of sources. Here are some 2016 comments about exam cheating from March 2016 onwards. So we'll talk about the lady in India who received allegedly the highest results in the year across India for the exam that she'd taken, but then she was asked some questions about it, or tried to talk about it in a YouTube video, talked about a completely different subject entirely, and it was soon established that she couldn't have been the person who sat the exam originally. And this is now taken so seriously that she was sent to prison for cheating. And that same story has developed elsewhere around the world, because the Kenyans now are threatening 10 years in prison for cheating in exams. That has already been seen in China, who are now looking at 7 years cheating in exams. They're looking at all this bad publicity about what it means for their country. There have been examples of people in the UK sent to prison after exam cheating, but perhaps more based around the fraudulent side of that. Algeria and actually some other countries as well have gone to the quite, I guess, quite prominent or step of blocking social media during the major exams in that country as well, clearly considering that that kind of cheating isn't something that we want to happen. And the Indian Army, which has resorted to getting people to take examinations in their underwear in a field. So 1,000 people, you can picture this, and you can look at the link, sat in a field, all in their underwear, all doing an exam with nowhere to hide. Well, is that really the case? Here's an illustration from the HA STEM conference, courtesy of the very talented Simon Heath, who picked up on a comment I made then, talking about where do we get to when students wear boxer shorts during exams, and should they be banned? Can they lead to more cheating? Well, we'll pick that up later in the presentation as well. And even within the UK, we've had lots of bad publicity now about all kinds of cheating, and included this article in the Times in early January 2016, looking back at least 5 cases of known impersonation, other people taking exams. We don't know, on top of that, how many cases of impersonation there were where the students cheating weren't caught. But all kinds of other common types of cheating as well, extracted from universities where they had this information. My favourite one as well, where students went to a particular toilet, presumably because they had their notes waiting in there for them to cheat off. There is all kinds of cheating happening in the United Kingdom and around the world, and we need to be very alert that this cheating in examinations is happening. Let's look now at some of the cheating activities we observed during our research into contract cheating and my wider work looking at how students are cheating as well. And most of our work has been based around studying the requests made on the freelancer agency site, where students put their work up and people bid to do their work. And this is just a very typical example of the type of thing you might see in July 2016, mentioning an online test and a very short description: need someone to take the test for me. At the time of putting this slide together, which was very early on in the life cycle of this particular request, 6 people had bid to complete it with an average bid of $21, so a very small amount, but clearly we don't have a whole huge amount of information to go on in that particular example. You can see many more requests in the contract cheating academic misconduct examination in the test slides and video from the STEM conference, but these are a few more examples from there and elsewhere which I've seen. So particularly things like online exams: can people be there at a certain time to take the test, or can they be on Skype? There are also requests to take online examinations for job applications, so where students have to pass some kind of test before they get the job, or I should say students or professionals, because professionals do exams as well. Things like asking students who failed an exam to redo it as if it was a piece of coursework, so with no constraints, just to show they've got that knowledge. And there's immediate questions about, is that of the same standard? Requests for people to have cheat sheets made for open book exams. I use cheat sheets loosely because people are allowed to take a certain amount of notes in there, but perhaps not so well prepared for them. There have been requests for take-home exams to be done, so that's where a student essentially really is called a take-home exam, but in many ways a piece of coursework. It's done within a short time period. People take it home, but they're not supervised. Help with sample examinations and model solutions, presumably with the idea the same questions might come up again. And even seen requests for people to write exam questions, whether these are for revision or whether these are for academics or whether these are for other services helping students with exams by providing them with as many examples as possible. And I've seen both standard written exams there as well as multiple choice type questions, because there are academics who make use of third parties to help them with their workload as well. In some ways I can understand that, because I appreciate it's a very busy job, but it's much better if the academics who are teaching the classes or who are setting the syllabuses are involved with setting the exams as well. I wanted to extend this talk and look at some of the other services students are using to get help with exams too. And here are just 2 examples of classified site adverts. One from Craigslist, very well-known online classified site, probably replaced small ads in newspapers. One from Gumtree, which is quite well used in the UK, very similar service to Craigslist. So there's an example there, a very recent example from Auckland. Looking for some help with a physics examination. Somebody saying essentially, can you take the exam for me? And it's a last resort, 170 to 200 New Zealand dollars there. And example in Greenwich, someone with a law degree, so many people involved with law now offering to help people with their exams, particularly their take-home exams, which do exist in the UK, although they're nowhere near as common as in North America, and providing all kinds of other standard contract cheating services as well. They will do people's essays for them, and this person has a lot more information about their services available as well. So they're doing a lot of things, and this is somebody who teaches primary school teaching years 1 and 2, but is more than happy to do people's work for them. So it does bring up questions about academic integrity. But there have been quite a few examples now of people posting on classified sites looking for people to go and take exams in their place, even in some cases specifying what the person taking the exams should look like to get through that. There are sites online now that offer to do a whole course for a student. One there called Pay Me to Do Your Homework, which has been featured apparently on all kinds of interesting news programs and online sites, and trusted more than 6,000 times. Their offer is we'll get you an A or B, or else it's free. And some of the examples of work they say they've done recently, I've just extracted the exam type ones, include things like training quizzes for nursing, designed to get people to be qualified nurses, programming exams in the type of quizzes, undergraduate and postgraduate work in different areas as well, even areas like biology, some things you may think that may not be that easy to cheat on. So if this is done online, then people can help with it, and as we found out, even if it's not online, you can still get people to help quite often as well, for instance by getting people waiting on Skype at the other end of a line as well. So really, is the examination that you set as an academic all that robust? Well, this is a well-known UK essay writing service that mainly does essays for people, but they've now branched out to do so many different services as well, and they now have an exam revision service that offering to let people ace their exam, and they actually have about 5 different things they can offer from this particular site. But one of them that stood out to me, all these 5 things to do with exams, one of them that stood out to me was they will prepare a complete set of revision notes, very carefully put together based on the syllabus, looking at things like past papers, trying to predict what's likely to come up for students to really help them. In other words, pretty much an extension of tutorials. They'll also provide model answers as well that students can learn and just slot straight into their examination. So they can use the same techniques used to cheat on essays with the way that some standard examinations are put together. So there's all kinds of ways out there that students can cheat on exams just by using standard essay writing type facilities. I rather joked at the start of this presentation about the way the exam cheating is changing and the future of it, and mentioned the Indian Army taking examinations in just their boxer shorts, but actually there's a real problem as we look into the future exam cheating, because you can now cheat just with boxer shorts. This is an example of cheating technology. I'll call it technology, wearable technology available to purchase online. It's boxer shorts. They've got built-in mobile phone technology to communicate with the outside world. You don't need very sophisticated mobile technology now. You can easily fit that in, I suspect, within the wristband of that underwear, accompanied by a small microphone that just looks like a finger or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised these will just fit on the top of a student's finger so it's completely concealed, and a tiny earpiece inside the ear, so the student can talk. You can well imagine in the Indian Army scenario, nobody would hear if somebody was talking very quietly into a sophisticated microphone, and they can get the answers back in the in-ear earpiece. But I mean, this kind of technology has been seen to be used in the wider world as well, and I said these are tiny microphones. This is, or should I say, tiny earpieces. This is an example of an earpiece available from a company in Madrid. It's not been around very long, but it's now offering a whole range of cheating devices, and even the microphone is more sophisticated than the simplistic one that I talked about in the boxer short example. They've now got essentially what are called inductive collars. They just go around your neck, around with your shirt or inside the shirt collar, and it just keeps the sound and communicates elsewhere. And they've got all kinds of interesting cheating technology, some very sophisticated solutions that can be purchased there, and they're advertising miniature cheating cameras coming soon to presumably enable you to take a photo of your exam paper to send that outside. And we do know that these cheating cameras are becoming a real problem. This was an example seen quite recently in Thailand for the entrance examinations for medical schools, and people were wearing glasses. Several students in this exam were wearing glasses, all slightly different glasses, so they didn't look the same, but they all had these little cameras that you can see in the middle image there incorporated inside the glasses. And someone was caught during this process, but essentially what happened, these photos communicated to people outside, and the answers went back to a smartwatch they were wearing with a mini screen. So you can see an example there. This is all pulled from the Facebook page of someone who was invigilating the exam and caught the students, and you can see how important it is to get it into medical school. Obviously it's a major life moment to get into medical school there. These students paid huge amounts of money as well in May 2016. The one student who admitted this was said to have paid £17,000 just for the help to get through that exam, including presumably the cost of the equipment and the cost of having somebody suitably qualified waiting outside the exam able to communicate back to the smartwatch. But if you think about putting all these different types of cheating technology together, then you can have some very sophisticated, very hard to detect solutions which enable students to communicate with the outside world and to cheat in examinations and in tests. I've given you quite a whistle-stop tour of contract cheating in exams, a type of request that are made online, and also the wider movement towards exam cheating through technology. But what should we be doing about it? And we do need to be thinking forward about how to stop cheating in exams, especially when there's certain advice out there now that suggests use exams, it makes cheating harder. Well, this is what they're doing at the University of Waterloo, which has been communicated through the JISC Mail Plagiarism discussion list there from Amanda Mackenzie, the Director of Quality Assurance at the University of Waterloo, and she talks about their process there is that students, when they go into exams, have to show an ID card, which is normally checked against a photo, but it is possible to fake ID cards. The technology there makes it quite easy. So now they've also started to embed information about the student into the ID card in the form of the magnetic strip or magnetic stripe, and that makes it much harder for students to send someone else in their place, providing that stripe is checked against the real information of the student. And I saw an example earlier in the year about where this had been done, and the invigilators were going around and checking the ID cards, and the student went and ran out of the room, and it was a student of the opposite gender to the one that would be expected, even though they were caught and they turned out they did look like their photo. So people are faking their way into exams and through impersonation, and if you've no way of knowing what students are in the exam, no way of recognizing them, then you really need a system like this in place. And I can see this being much more common now around the world, making sure that it is the correct student turning up to take the exam. There's a whole load of recommendations about how to improve exams in general in terms of how they're set. One of the main recommendations, which has also come through my contract cheating work, has been to really ensure that students know why they have to complete exams and complete assignments of their own. And frankly, one good reason is because university needs assurance that the students have done their own work, but the students do need this knowledge. We don't want to set them exams which are just there for the sake of getting students to pass exams. They have to take tests during recruitment for employment. They have to take tests quite often, exams when they're in a job as well. We do need close invigilation of exams with the thorough identity checks I mentioned. I know of universities now that are starting to film their exams as well because of additional evidence. If someone or something isn't as it seems, then maybe that's something that needs to be thought about. Likewise, there are universities now that are moving towards a lot of exams taken on computers with a very careful restriction of internet and very careful screen monitoring, perhaps even going as far as to record what's on the screens just to make sure a student can't communicate with the outside world. Even these students who've said, can you be on Skype at a certain time to help me with this exam? It makes it that much harder, and it's very useful to have that information to go with it. I do think as well, as we're seeing all these different types of technologies being used to cheat, that we have to be thinking about supplying examination resources directly to students. We don't want them taking mobile phones into exams. We don't want them taking smartwatches into exams. All of those areas should be restricted anyway, but can we supply the pens? I've seen examples of pens with information included within them helping people to cheat, and particularly areas like calculators. And I throw out a warning with this about this final thought: examination technology even can exist in a cheating form in the simplest looking advices. This looks like a perfectly normal bog standard scientific calculator, probably costs a few pounds. We see them all the time in certain types of examinations there, but as you see the screen light up, you might realize that isn't a normal calculator. You may even recognize that this has some kind of phone included behind it, and this is really a fully functional iPhone just put inside a case that looks like a calculator, even though the calculator works, but certain buttons as well will control the phone, and presumably a student can get inside the phone when people aren't looking too closely at what's going on, access the internet, and do all the things under the nose of an invigilator that we wouldn't want to see. And there's no shortage of pictures online showing things like students in an exam room with mobile phones on their laps, just out of view, but occasionally caught by invigilators, caught by cameras, sometimes even caught by other students, which makes you wonder how that student is able to take a photo of someone else in an exam and not be detected themselves. So we do need to be worried about cheating examinations, about who is doing exams, and about the technology that's able to help students to take and pass exams that they don't deserve to do. I hope this brief presentation has whetted your appetite for more details about contract cheating and other types of student cheating. There is a whole wealth of good resources out there, and I do have a much fuller version of this material if you want a full 1 hour seminar or even a whole workshop just looking at exam cheating. I've got the materials for that ready and waiting to present, but here are a few references for our contract cheating work in terms of the officially published exam papers. Actually, nowadays, most of our work ends up in the form of talks, videos, slides, so that's probably one place you want to go to first. But here are our contact details as well, and I should point you straight away at my SlideShare account. You can see the address at the right there. Slides available at www.slideshare.net/Thomas Lancaster. So you can see these particular slides. You can see a whole host of other information and other talks as well about exam cheating, contract cheating, cheating in particular areas as well, and what we can do about it. The video version of the presentation you're watching now, but it's on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/Dr. Thomas Lancaster, along with quite a few other interesting talks I've done as well, and various other resources on the page too. By all means, get in contact with me or Bob. Bob, particularly for his detective work in this area, very keen to hear about anyone who's been successful in catching students cheating, anyway, prosecuting them. Always really interested in this area as well, and you can see my other contact details there. One of the best ways to contact me is just to drop me a tweet at Dr. Lancaster. By all means, use the hashtag #contractcheating as well, because there's a wealth of good information archived under that hashtag as well. Thanks for joining me. I hope you found out a lot more about cheating in exams. I hope you got some good ideas. Always keen to find out what people are working on, and very keen to do more research in this area.